Walk with me.
Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Also, that the soul be without knowledge is not good, and he that hasteneth with his feet sinneth. The foolishness of a man perverteth his way, and his heart fretteth against the I am. Wealth maketh many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall not escape. Many will entreat the favor of the prince, but in every man is a friend to him that giveth gifts. All brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He that pursueth them with words, yet they are wanting to him. And he that getteth wisdom loveth his own soul, and he that keepeth understanding shall find good. A false witness shall not be unpunished, but he that speaketh lies shall perish. Delight is not seemingly for a fool, much less for a servant to have rule over princes. The discretion of a man deferreth his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. The king's wrath is as a roaring lion, but his favor is as dew upon the grass. A foolish son is a calamity to his father, and the contentions of a wife are a continual dropping. House and riches are the inheritance of fathers, and a prudent wife is from the I am. Slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. He that keepeth the commandment keepeth his soul, but he that despiseth his ways shall die. He that hath pity upon the poor lendeth unto the I am, and that which he hath given he will repay him again. Chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying. A man of great wrath shall suffer punishment, but if thou deliver him, yet thou must do it again. Hear the counsel, and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in the latter end. There are many devices in a man's heart, nevertheless the counsel of the I am shall stand. The desire of a man is his kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar. The fear of the I am tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied. He shall not be visited with evil. A slothful man hideth his hand in his bosom, and will not so much as bring it to his mouth again. Smite a scorner, and the simple will beware. And reprove one that hath understanding, and he will understand knowledge. He that wasteth his father, and chases away his mother, is a son that causeth shame, and bringeth reproach. Cease, my son, to hear the instructions that cause to err from the words of knowledge. An ungodly witness scorneth judgment, and the mouth of the wicked devoureth iniquity. Judgments are prepared for scorners, and strife for the backs of fools. Proverbs chapter 19. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me and my seed, that we go not astray henceforth and forever. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. All praises to the Most High. All praises, all praises. He is worthy to be praised. All glory, glory, glory to his holy name, who has given him the victory, which is our victory. Yes, all the things that we have this day is his delight to give us. Even that it renders praise and adoration toward him from our hearts. Yes, you're walking with Mr. Clay, And I'm Mr. Clay, and we thank God for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, and those of you who have been with us here and there's about, and those of you that are just subscribed, as well as those of you that are about to subscribe. And we're calling those things that are not as though they are. All praises to the Most High. Yes, 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 this is a day that we should really rejoice. Although the earth is reeling and rocking, the magma under the earth and all the things that are going out about, the wars and all the things that are happening, is it not the I Am that is preparing the earth to receive the revealing of the sons, or should I say the children of Jacob, his elect? Yes, because God has no sons. The I Am has no sons. He is the creator. That is a Greek terminology that we've all been indoctrinated toward. And some of us, we will never give them up because we're stuck in our ways. But the fact is, the Most High is one that created. He created once. He gave everything a law. And he gave everything a pattern to follow. And it's in the book of Enoch, it's in the book of Jubilees, and it's in the book of Jasher, how God had done these things. And from there, everything multiplies after its kind. Beast and man and fish and fowl. Yes, all multiplies after their kind. Yes, and we thank God for the wars. We thank the Most High for all the things that are happening in the earth. Regardless of whether we have been affected or not, it's to our good as long as we keep his commandments, statutes, and ordinances. Forget about all the things that they say about historical things. Forget about all these things they push forth and push back. But the keeping of the commandments. Even the heathen and his fouling up the 27 letters. The last word in the book of Revelation even says, keep the commandments. How foolish can we be? We're blinded by the insertion of false teachings that are not even founded in the Bible, many of them. Not even the 27 letters, nor the absolute law of the Most High. And neither in the historical accounts of the kings and all that, therefore. No, it's not. Now we're in the book of Nehemiah. Yes, the book of Nehemiah. The book of Nehemiah chapter 5. Yes, the book of Nehemiah chapter 5. Yes, Nehemiah was one who had some enemies. Namely two. Tobias, or Tobiah, and the other guy. I forgot his name, but either way. But either way, in the 5th chapter of Nehemiah, as we go and do these things that God would prepare us for his coming. Even according to the book of Enoch. I'm not going by the book of Revelation. It is tainted. It is whatever it is. It's not right. Because the Most High, no man will see him that's living, and all that see him will die, because you cannot see the Most High and live or be in the flesh. No way. He is holy. And only those things that are clean, those who are clean, can behold him. And we shall behold the Most High one day. Not though Jesus, but God the Creator himself. He does not have a vagina as a woman. Neither does he have reproductive systems as a woman, nor nurturing systems. He created those things on the woman, in the earth, among the animals, that they may nurture after their kind. That's what he did. We are so indoctrinated and bamboozled by the heathen and their gods, which are the Satans. Now, Nehemiah chapter 5. And there was a great cry of the people and their wives against their brethren, the Judeans. You notice I replaced the word Jews with Judeans. There's no such thing as a Jew. This is Greek talk. They gave them that nickname Jews, but they're really Judeans. There's no W there. But either way, for there was that said, we, our sons and our daughters are many, therefore we take up corn for them, that we may eat and live. In other words, we have a lot of family here, and they need to eat. Some also there were that said, we have mortgaged our lands, vineyards, and houses, that we might buy corn because of the dearth. There was a lack. The earth was not yielding its strength to them to grow the corn and the grapes and everything, that we might buy corn because of the dirt. Verse 4. And there were also that said, we have borrowed money for the king's tribute, and that upon our lands and our vineyards. What king are they talking about? There was only one king that was over that land, and that was who? Darius. Yes, they borrowed money to pay Darius taxes, and that upon their lands and vineyards to keep them. Now our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren, our children as their children. And lo, we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants. These are indentured servants, or should I say indebted. Somebody has bought their debt and caused them to be servants. And now, until they do the time as a servant, their debt is only paid. The person that they owed is paid, but yet they're still working to pay off that debt. Now, this is also the debtor system here in the West. This is the capitalistic system in a way. This is the way the heathen were doing things. This is why God says you will not put usury upon your brother. See, you have to realize the king had usury, and those who lent to him had usury too. So, in other words, you're going to work off what you owe us, whether it's exact or whatever usury we charge to you. So much percentage upon so many dollars or so much gold. Now, he says now, and some of our daughters are brought into bondage. In other words, they were brought into bondage, and this was not good, because some of them were made to be wise and their bodies used in ways that we should not even discuss. Neither is it in our power to redeem them, for other men have our lands and vineyards. And where some of them have gotten confiscated. And I was very angry when I heard their cry and these words. I would be too. Then I consulted with myself, and I rebuked the nobles and the rulers, and said unto them, ye exact usury, every one of his brother, and I set a great assembly again, your own brethren. See, this is one of the reasons why the Satans are allowed to have the children of Jacob not know who is who. Because then, if they knew the law, they would not charge usury. We would have homes and how you think those ones that call themselves by the name of Jacob and are not, and that they charge interest to each other? I don't think so. That is transgression against the law. Yes, God will not receive them until they stop. Now, he said, you exact usury, every one of his brother, and I set a great assembly against them. And I said unto them, we after our abilities has redeemed our brethren the Judeans, which were sold unto the heathen. Now they said we redeemed them. In other words, they were sold to the heathen, we got them back. All right, this is what he's saying. Okay, and will ye even sell your brethren? In other words, we bought them back, so they owe us. So now this is happening. Okay, or shall they be sold unto us? He said, now we brought our brethren back because they had got into debt, and they, according to what we have previously read. And he says now, or shall they be sold to us? Now, are we going to have to buy our brethren from this thing that they've done? then held there their peace, and found nothing to answer. And I said, it is not good that ye do aught, that ye do not walk in the fear of our God because of the reproach of the heathen, our enemies. In other words, you heathen that set your brethren up, and that the great dearth was happening, and all these things have happened, and they got into debt. You bought them back, but yet you tell me this. Then he goes back and says, as I also as I said, it is not good that ye do aught, that ye walk not in the fear of the God, because in other words, we should look at the children of Jacob, that we know are the children of Jacob, walking in the statutes, commandments, and ordinances of the Most High with a sort of reverence, not as God, but as brethren. Yes, as brethren. In other words, if they're in the bondage, we get them out. If they go to prison, we have to break them out if they have not done anything wrong, or find some way to help them. And for such some do. Some Israelite brothers and sisters do. They do this thing as unto the Most High, because they know that Jacob is the inheritance of the Most High. And that is what we must treat Jacob as, the inheritance of God, in all due respect. Now, this is why the earth is reeling and rocking. Not for sons of God, but because God has an inheritance. Although he will accept the heathen if they come through Jacob, but Jacob is his inheritance. Yes. And likewise, and my brethren, verse 10, and my servants might exact them money and corn. In other words, I got some money, I got some corn. You don't do these things. And I pray you, leave off this usury. That you're going to make them pay interest and pay for you redeeming them too? So leave off this usury. Use off these taxes or this interest you have on what you paid for them to be free. Leave it off. This is an inheritance of the Most High. He told you not to do it. Yes, they have to pay you back, but not the interest. No, not the interest at all. Restore, I pray you, to them even this day their lands. Now you have to give that back. Now how can you take their lands and they cannot produce to pay you back? Their vineyards and olive yards and their houses, also the 100th part of the money and the corn and the wine and the order you exact of them. This is what he's saying. You're causing them to starve. Now, this is what the heathen do. They take everything you got and then throw you into prison because you don't have it anymore because they took it. You cannot even make money because you are in prison. Now, then said they, we will restore them, and we will require nothing of them. So will we do as thou sayest, when I called the priest and took an oath of them, that they should do according to this promise. Now, the priests, the Levites, very important tribe. Not that we should reverence them as we reverence God, but we should reverence them as servants, as the angels of the Most High, or messengers of the Most High. Because God has made Levi to serve him and minister unto him. Yes. And we don't know who's Levi. And the Levi right now is still unclean, that they cannot even serve the Most High. Even as we read in the book of Ezra, they had to cleanse the sons of Levi. They had to cleanse themselves before they could even render service to the I Am. Yes. Moreover, from the time that I was appointed to be their governor in the land of Judah, and from the 20th year even unto the 32nd year, I'm in verse 14, year of Xerxes, the king, that is 12 years, I and my brethren have not eaten bread of the governor. In other words, I don't want nothing of him. The governor is not. You have to realize that Israel should separate themselves from the heathen. Because you have to realize they eat pork, they eat chicken, they eat unclean beast, the shrimps and all these things that God told you not to eat. These things are upon them. Even if you marry a wife, she should be first cleanse herself of these things in order that she might prove to you that your God is her God and your people are her people. This is what should happen. We have to restore these things back to its originality. Even living in captivity in a heathenistic place. Some places you cannot even find goat. You cannot find sheep. You cannot find the quail to eat as your fowl. Because you notice nowhere in the New Testament does it talk about eating, or should I say the Old Testament, does it even talk about a chicken. A chicken is a crossbreed. It is mated in the Asian lands and is an unclean bird because it is a scavenger. Yes, it is. And we have to be circumspect when we deal with seafood and any type of food, to whether even the cow is a crossbreed, because if you go to the originality of it, you go into Africa, those cows don't look like the cows that's in Europe. They don't look like that. And all in the other lands, Egypt and all around, those cows don't look like those cows. So there's a dead cat on the line with these cows. We don't know what they're breeded with, but God have mercy upon us because we don't know. But once we do learn and find that they're unclean, then we have to do what we have to do. Now, yet I continued in the work. He says now, yea, even their servants bear rule over the people, but so did not I, because of the fear of God. In other words, this is an inheritance of the Most High. I must respect my brethren. This is what he's talking about, your neighbor. See, the heathen has mistranslated this whole thing, or intentionally mistranslated. He doesn't talk about the whole world. He's talking about the inheritance of the Most High. Regardless of how you think of them or how they are, or how you hate yourself and hate them too, this still is the inheritance of the Most High. You don't know when they're going to change or how God is dealing in their hearts to turn back the commandments, statutes, ordinances, and laws back to Him. Yes, some of them seem foolish. The Pookies and Ray Rays and the gangs and all these other people, and over there and these different tribal people and what's come out from them. You don't know how God has preserved the seed of every one of the tribes of Israel in these peoples. Because you notice that even Christianity is after matriarchism. The Old Testament is patriarchy, if you want to put it in these European terms. But you have to realize the whole world is patriarchy, and only the West is matriarchy. But is it really patriarchy? No, it's not. It's the way God is, which the male has been patterned. Yes. If he learns the commandments, statutes, and ordinances and really follows the Most High, so will he and his wife would also know her place by doing such things too. Now, moreover, he says now, then they said, we will restore them. Verse 13. Then he says, and we will do as thou sayest. Then I called the priest and took an oath of them that they should do according to this promise. Verse 13. Also, I shook my lap. I shook my lap and said, in other words, you just shake your lap. So God shake out every man from his house. They were sitting down from his labor that performeth not this promise. In other words, a curse will be upon you. Even thus he be shaken out and empty. And all the congregation says, Amen. In other words, they were agreeing. Regardless of how you say Amen is, who cares? Because you have to realize the Israelites back in that time, they are Egyptians by birth. Many of them were. Their fathers were Egyptians by birth. Because they were born in the land. They were Africans by birth because they were born in that land. But everyone was born on the other side of the Euphrates after Noah. although we might say that Africa, by whatever we found, Africa was the mother of all civilization, or should I say the father of all civilization, because there cannot be no mother without a father, and there cannot be no father without the Creator. So the father of all civilization, we might say, is Africa. Have you noticed they used a woman to try to discredit the black man, or the dark man, or the man that came from the soil? This is what they do. They will discredit you by using the woman. Why do you think they come up with these? Who's to say that they saw this woman in the grave and then there was no man beside her or no man nearby those bones? A woman is less, to the heathen, a woman is less threatening. It's less threatening. Yes, I would use a woman too, because it wouldn't mean much or nothing. But if I use a man, that would cause pride. And this man will strengthen himself and fight because he knows who he really is now. Think about it. So the man is still the one God have chose to be the head of the home, the lands, and everything else. Now, he uses women, yes. Here and there he does use women. But the woman that does know her place, she will be prudent, and she would be that which is known how she has lifted up her man, and her man will be lifted up and truly be one of praise throughout the cities and villages that he should live. Whether it's just him being an upright citizen or a man that cares, that wife is behind him first, and she's on the side of him also. Now, let us continue. He says, now, moreover, from the time that I was appointed to be their governor in the land of Judah, from with 20th year even unto the 32nd year of Xerxes the king, that is 12 years, and I and my brethren have not eaten bread of the governor. But the former governors had been before me, were chargeable unto the people. In other words, they're just like some of your leaders today. They take the powers of those who have the biggest bombs and the biggest armies, and they think that they have reverenced them above God and even above their own people. And now you even have these in these powerful countries that have set themselves up to be rich once their term is over with. You see this thing. They have set themselves up to rob the people in so many political and lawful jargons that really are unlawful and unconstitutional. And they have bribed their judges, Supreme Courts, to turn their heads away and make laws that really are not constitutional either. Do you hear me? And had taken them bread and wine, and besides 40 shekels of silver, and even their servants bear rule over the people. What's happening? They're taking their police, their law enforcements all over the world. Even they have rule over the people instead of the people ruling them, and they're serving the people to protect them as an official. So did I not, because of the fear of the Most High. Yea, I continued in the work of this wall, neither brought we any land. We didn't buy no land. And all my servants were gathered together thither unto the work, because he had money from King Darius to do this. Moreover, there were at my table 150 Judeans and rulers, besides those that came unto us from among the heathen that are about us. Now that which was prepared for me daily was 1 ox, 6 choice sheep. He was the governor. And so they prepared food for him. He was a ruler in that area that he was charged to rebuild Jerusalem by edict of Xerxes, which Darius has also appointed him to. Now that which was prepared for me daily was 1 ox. That's a lot of meat. And 6 choice sheep, and fowls were prepared for me, and once in 10 days store of all sorts of wine. Yet for all this I required not the bread of the governor, because the bondage was heavy upon his people. Now you can imagine Nehemiah just feeding who he would feed. I mean, come on to my table and eat. This is too much for me anyway. So people sat at the table. This is where they get those European, should I say, movies from, where they have the straightforward tables and everybody's eating at that table, when at one time they were eating on the ground. This is what's happening. You can imagine this as that. They were all eating at his table. Verse 19, think upon me, my God, for good, and according to all that I have done for this people. He loved his people, and he reverenced his God, and he knew that the children of Jacob, this is why we must respect the children of Jacob as the inheritance of the Most High. Because if we treat them as such, then we will have peace.
Walk with me.